Israelis have begun the construction of new settler units in the occupied West Bank city of Hebron, also known as El Khalil. The project, which was approved by Israeli authorities 4 years ago, includes building 31 settler units in a military base. An Israeli anti-settlement group known as Peace Now has launched a legal action to stop the construction of the new settlement. It says the project is the first major expansion of Israeli settlements in the city in 2 decades. Palestinian residents in Al Khalil say the new neighborhood would result in an increase in violence and consequently more restrictions on them. About 1,000 Israeli settlers live in Al Khalil under heavy military protection among more than 200,000 Palestinians. All Israeli settlements are illegal under international law. Rabbi Dovid Feldman is the spokesman of the Nutre Carta and joins us now live from New York. Rabbi, welcome. They say that nowhere in the occupied West Bank is there more violations by Israeli squatters backed by the Israeli regime than in Al Khalil. Do you agree with that?
I have to say that Zionist aggression in Hebron didn't start today. If we go back in history, maybe the first famous tension that took place because of Zionist aggression was in 1929, even before the creation of the State of Israel, because of Zionist aggression at the time. And this is very important to clarify. And if I may quote, Rabbi Baruch Kaplan, that was a famous religious Jewish rabbi in New York, passed away maybe 30 years ago. He was a teenager in 1929 in Hebron while the famous Hebron massacre took place. And he was so upset when the record was so wrong, when Zionist propaganda used and still use the Hebron massacre as a proof that the Arabs were so bad and we need the State of Israel to protect the Jewish people. And he says, and I quote, "The Arabs were very friendly people, and the Jewish people in Hebron lived together with them and had very friendly relationships with them." And he continues to say, "No one in the yeshiva, in the religious school, ever told me it was dangerous to go by myself amongst the Arabs." And he continues at the end of this interview by saying as follows, "The Arabs were a friendly people to us, and I am a witness to it. We lived very well with them in Hebron. Rabbi Alter attests to this as well. And it was the accursed Zionists who caused them to hate us. The Zionists dared to use their power to expel the Arabs, and even today, those days back in Lebanon, they kill and butcher the Arabs." Now, we have to understand, when we find today that 100 settlers live amongst 200,000 Palestinians in Hebron under a heavy military protection, there is a great question: why is this protection needed if Jewish people lived so peaceful? Now, the answer in 1929 is the same answer as we have to attest today. Unfortunately, it's the Zionist aggression that is causing this conflict from the very beginning to the present day. This is very sad. This is against humanity. This is against the Torah, the Jewish teachings. The settlers in no way represent the Jewish people, but it's not only the extremist settler movement, which don't represent myself or represent the Jewish people as a whole. It's the entire occupation, it's the entire State of Israel, which is wrong and does not represent Jewish people whatsoever.
And Rabbi, can you give us just an idea with regards to the settlements, the expansion of these settlements in Hebron, also known as Al Khalil? How, what life is like for Palestinians living there?
Well, it's ridiculous when we see what is happening, the occupation to begin with. But when this illegal settlement movement is just expanding and expanding and just pushing out the Arabs and just making all these problems and all this misery, all this serious oppression that the Palestinian people face already for decades, just getting worse and worse. And happens to be that the settler issue is something that the entire world, even those who might agree with Israel to a certain extent, realize and admit that this is internationally wrong, this is a crime, and this is wrong. There is no excuse there's no excuse to the entire occupation, but certainly not to the settlement expansion.
Rabbi, thank you very much indeed for your contribution, your thoughts there. Rabbi Dovid Feldman is the spokesman of the Nutri Carta International, joining us live out of New York.